I think we might as well kind of get going, see if we get some stragglers coming in here, and we'll give this thing a whirl. I'm Lucas Koenig, and I kind of put this together. I'm one of the high school coaches. I just really wanted to start working on a conversation where, you know, all the Sauk Prairie coaches, parents, people that are interested in baseball can, you know, start to collaborate and talk, you know, about baseball and work together. So here we go. I just kind of want to go through some norms here in terms of like how we want to think about things and do some of the things in our meetings here. Respect other people's ideas. We're all going to have different ideas and we're all coming from different places. Just, you know, respect that our ideas might be different, and that's okay in baseball. There's a lot of different ways to do some of the same things. And with that, assume positive intent. And this is like, some of this stuff is teacher stuff. I'm a middle school teacher. So like, assume positive intent. We're all here because we want Sauk Prairie baseball to get better. Just because we do things differently doesn't mean our intent isn't to help that cause. Mute yourself if you're not sharing. So if you are not, you know, don't have something to share, a question or whatever, just, you know, try to mute yourself because of the background noise that can get picked up. And if you have questions or comments, add them into the chat section, or with our numbers being this small, I would say just ask the question. I think I was thinking about that if we had more like 20, 25 people, where it might be hard to kind of ask your questions. And we are Sauk Prairie baseball. So, you know, we're some of the people that are, I would say, most interested in helping Sauk Prairie baseball be as good as we can. So I thank you for being here. All right. So I'm going to start out and kind of talk about some of the things that I look for in a hitter, and then I'll open it up to some people to share. I know John has some things. I hope Brendan has some things, and we can, you know, just kind of talk about what we're doing hitting wise and what we're thinking about hitting wise. Like some goals for tonight, to develop some common coaching language and strategies, increase collaboration among coaches at all levels. I think that's really huge for our program right now, is that we work on getting a program-wide philosophy and learn from each other. I really believe in always learning about baseball. Like, I am not an expert on baseball. I will always be learning more and more, and that's just kind of how I look at life, and especially baseball. So the first thing for me for youth hitting, skills at scale is a phrase that I really love, that I've been hearing from Driveline. It's a program that has worked on data-driven development, and some of their coaches have gone on to be pro coaches now. For the Reds, their pitching coordinator was the developer of Driveline. And when they look at their youth programs that they're working on, skills at scale is when you coach skills to the youth players that will help them to be productive at the higher levels. So for those of you that have been through the like U10, U12 kind of age groups, there are certain skills that guys can be really good at on the little league size field that really are not going to help them to be successful high school players or college players. So like if you think about coaching 10U and really focusing your practices on stealing second base at the little league level, it's once they get to be 13 on a big field, that strategy of stealing second is not going to play. As it relates to hitting at the U12 level, if you can hit ground balls and put the ball in play a lot, you're going to get on base a lot. You're going to hit 500 probably if you can hit the ball in play on the ground hard. You do that at the varsity level, that's a 6'3", that's a 5'3" most of the time. So for hitting, the skills at scale are bat speed and exit velocity. So we really want to train kids on swinging harder and swinging faster, and with that, hitting the ball harder. So how we can do that, and things that we'll want to look at, and these are things that program-wide we want to think about, is how we can measure bat speed, how we can measure exit velocity. So like at the tryouts, measuring exit velocity, hoping that this was going to be a normal kind of summer. My plan was that then I would come out to practices and measure exit velocities mid-year and then post, at the end of the season. And we could try to track some of those exit velocities and also work on thinking about ways that we can train that bat speed and that swinging harder. And also focusing on the outcomes you can control. So baseball's really a trap sport in that you get caught up in things like batting average. And that's the hardest thing to focus on because we don't always control our hits. So you feel good when you hit that grounder that barely gets by the shortstop, and then you feel bad when you hit the hard line drive that the center fielder goes back on and catches. And clearly one hit was better than the other. So it's important to focus on those outcomes you can control. So hitting a line drive that drives the center fielder back, that's a good hit. That ground ball that barely squeaks by the shortstop, not really a good hit. So in our practices, in our games, really focusing on those aspects. So with the youth hitting, coaching our players to hit the ball hard in the air. So we got, Nelly Cruz down here just cranking one. But hitting the ball hard in the air. The reason we want to hit the ball hard in the air is those are the hits that do the most damage for us. And they're sometimes hard to coach. So like when we look at skills at scale, hitting the ball hard in the air for a 9-year-old playing 10U, that might mean a line drive fly out to the left fielder. They might not have the power to do that, to drive it over their head or whatever, but really focusing on that skill and developing that skill. So some things that we could do to work on that skill. This one I haven't done yet, but I love, and I need to do it for the Twins also, it's called the reverse home run derby. So for the reverse home run derby, you might start out with your first round of batting practice in shallow center field, where guys can hit the ball out relatively consistently. And I think what's really cool about this is, hitting a home run is the most fun thing in baseball. I think I don't think there's any doubt about that. So being able to practice hitting home runs, that's fun. And the reverse part about it is you start in the shallow center field, and then after a round, then you move back to maybe second base, and then you'll start decreasing that the number of home runs hit. But it also develops that goal setting part. So if you hit 5 home runs from the shortest one, and then only maybe 3 from the second shortest distance, you're hoping that 2 weeks later when you do the same drill that maybe you hit 6 home runs from the shortest distance and 4 from the second, and then maybe you hit 1 from the pitcher's mound or whatever. So you can really track your growth that way, because baseball is hard. It is hard to track your growth in a non-statistic driven kind of way, but in a way like reverse home run derby, you could. And goal setting, that's another part that's hard in baseball that other sports, it's a lot easier. So if you ran track, you could run your mile in a certain time, and then a month later, when you run it faster, you feel good about yourself. You may not be the state champion in a mile, but you still know you're improving. In baseball, that's hard, because the stats don't necessarily tell the whole story about how you're actually doing. When we also with our youth hitting, challenging hitters, we fail a lot in baseball, and we need to practice failing. So all coaches, I think, are guilty of making things easy on their hitters, hitting off the tee, hitting front toss, throwing the batting practice in there at 40 miles an hour. And there is value in that, but really then working on the other end of the challenge where you're forcing your players to hit above their normal velocity, whether that's, if you're at a youth level, throwing harder to them, whether that's during batting practice, shortening the distance that you're throwing to them to where they can't make contact all the time. Because in baseball, don't make contact all the time. You don't hit every ball fair, and being able to get used to that, those adjustments are important. And then finally, swing fast and athletic. Young athletes can develop that fast athletic movement easier than older athletes can. So it's important that we encourage that swing fast, hit the ball hard, swing as hard as you can, hit the ball as far as you can, because as they get older, by the time they get to us at the high school level, it's hard to develop that bat speed. I don't have the science in front of me, but one of the courses and speakers I listened to a couple months ago was real adamant about that you can't coach up the increasing the speed as much once they're at the high school level as opposed to the lower levels. But by the time they get to high school, then we can coach up more of the contact part of the hitting, but we can't coach up the speed so much. So really making sure kids are always swinging fast and athletic, even if that results in misses. Yeah. Any questions or comments or to kind of to add on to any of those topics? Let me admit Mike here. So the other part so Johnny, you better start thinking of something, and Brendan, start thinking. Give you a little warning here. I'm a math guy, and I love how the sabermetric aspect, how the data aspect has affected baseball. What frustrates me is listening to certain announcers, especially there's an announcer who announces playoff games who's a former Hall of Fame, or who is a Hall of Fame pitcher, how he uses some of these terms. So like you've heard John Smoltz talk about like launch angle and launch angle swing. It really frustrates me because he shows like a misunderstanding of what launch angle is. So launch angle, that is the angle of the ball leaving the bat. So every hit has a launch angle. So if you look at Ryan Zimmerman over here, a line drive straight up the middle, so a line drive parallel to the ground has a 0 degree launch angle. So that's your line drive. Anything above 0 degrees then is a positive launch angle. So it goes up to, every hit has a launch angle. So if you hit it straight up above home plate, it'd have a 90 degree launch angle. If you hit it straight down on home plate, a negative 90 degree launch angle. So the misconception is that there's a launch angle swing, that modern hitters have this launch angle swing, and that's why they strike out so much, or why they hit so many home runs, kind of depending on how you perceive launch angle. And really it's just a way that we can measure the angle at which our hits leave the bat. And in the old days, what that would mean is, we want to hit a hard line drive, is what coaches might say. And launch angle still goes along with that, is, we want to hit a line drive. We'll be a little more specific in saying we want to hit a line drive at a launch angle between 15 and 35 degrees. So the picture of Zimmerman there has that perfect launch angle at between 25 and 35. And the reason for that is, with his exit velocities being in the hundreds, he can hit a ball, at 35 degree launch angle that'll go 380 feet for a home run. Whereas as we look at younger players, we may want our launch angles more at that 15 degree level, because that 15 degree level would be that hit then that is a line drive in the gap that gets down for a double. So on the previous one, I was talking about hitting the ball hard and in the air. Launch angle factors into that we want those balls consistently hit in the air. We want to, with that in mind, we want to avoid ground balls. We want to avoid, just ground balls in general. Because we don't get damage with them, we don't get the extra base hits. Our batting averages will be lower on those ground balls at the high school level, at the college level, pro level for sure. I know that at the U12 level, your batting average might be higher. But hopefully with our youth coaches, we're focused more on helping our players develop than getting that win in the 9U game. Exit velocity, that's the speed at which the ball leaves the bat. So we would measure that with a radar gun. Swing speed is the speed of the bat at contact. So some tools that you could use would be like a blast motion sensor. It's like the sensors you put on the knob of your bats. You can get those for like $100. I think they're pretty cool. They come with, you have an app on your phone, and you can do video to connect to it, and it keeps, collects some of that data. So if you're hitting off the tee in your garage, for example, you can see that growth from year to year or practice to practice. An attack angle, and this is the one where, like, John Smoltz will kind of misinterpret with launch angle. So attack angle is the angle at which the angle the bat is going as you hit the ball. So a positive attack angle means you're swinging up on the ball, means you have that uppercut swing, and that's been a debatable thing over the years. Over the last, a long time in baseball. If you go back to like Ted Williams, he talked about the uppercut swing in his book, and now people that use a data-driven approach to hitting understand that you want your swing to be at about a 10 degree to 12 degree uppercut. That if you're swinging at that level of uppercut, that'll match the plane of the ball. So when you hear that idea of being on plane would mean that you're swinging with that slight uppercut to match the ball flight. And let's see, I'm going to quick go through to a video of Buster Posey here. I'm going to kind of show us that attack angle. One more here.
Hey, Lucas, this is Amanda Krachek. I just have a question for that attack angle, and I don't know if it's going to show it, but does that mean they're dropping their shoulder just slightly to get that 10-degree angle, the back shoulder?
Yeah, I would say on, like, really the only swings where your shoulders are going to stay level is on a pitch like up at the letters. Otherwise, like you're gonna tilt at the waist, and your shoulders will drop.
Okay.
And we'll see that on most swings. Like, this is a high pitch, so his shoulders stay relatively level because of the location of the pitch. I'm not sure, but you can still see that his swing plane with the green tracer there goes up goes upward to match the plane of the ball and to hit the ball in the air. Let's see what this pitch is on here. So like Braun's pitch is a little lower, so we can see his back shoulder drop a bit, but really the shoulder will drop dependent on that pitch location. So a lower pitch, you'll see more shoulder tilt. The higher pitch, you'll see less shoulder tilt. So really, your shoulders will stay. Your shoulders and bat will really all be, I guess, parallel into your swing, ideally. All right, Johnny, you're up. What do you got? What do you got for us?
I got some music playing in the background, so I had to make sure I muted it. The boys got some LMFAO or something on in the background, so definitely don't need that going. I've been in the lower level of the high school arena here for about 5 or 6 years now, at different areas, different schools. So you can definitely see which programs care for that a little bit more. The stuff that the launch angle, the exit velocity, the swing speed, stuff that they look to develop early and look to touch on that the kids know exactly kind of what to build your swing on and stuff like that. There was a good quote by one of the guys that did a camp that I went to a number of years back, is that so many coaches at the youth level are swing coaches, but they try to master the swing when they should be concerned on not so much the swing, because I mean, everybody's swing is going to be different. I mean, I changed my swing numerous times from age 16 to 22. I mean, just to find something that worked for the level that I was at. And I think that youth coaches get into they try to be swing masters instead of developing other parts of the program or their whole baseball program, instead of focusing on stuff like that, developing the offense, developing some kind of program for tough outs, learning how to hit the ball the way you should. They're worried about how a swing should be on an individual basis, and they waste so much time on that at a young age. And you can see which programs focus on kind of the more important things of how you should develop as a young hitter when they get to high school. When they're at the freshman level, when they're at the sophomore level, you can see, whoa, these guys took way too much time trying to hit the ball on a level plane by not dipping the shoulder. And you can tell the guys that focused on these new schools of thought, the launch angle, the exit velocity, instead of guys that just threw a tee up there and said, hey, hit 50 pitches and see what happens. You'll develop muscle memory is important. I understand that. And hitting off a tee was one of the things that I always went to when I was in a funk. But I mean, you can only do so much off of a tee. And I think, our programs need to develop good things that you were talking about with exit velocity and swing speed and attack angle. There's all kinds of new drills that we could be doing for that stuff and develop it according to age and as the hitters grow older.
Yeah, that's what I love the idea. So putting a constraint in for the players, I think is useful. So like with the reverse home run derby, you don't have to coach the kids to try to hit the ball in the air, have a positive attack angle. They know that they want to hit a home run, so they're gonna purposely uppercut their swing a little bit to try to drive the ball over the fence. I mean, it's amazing how a constraint like that can adjust the swing, and by putting that constraint in, their swing is going to improve, their mechanics are going to improve, because they're going to start doing what we want them to do. My 2-year-old, like hitting off the tee, will put something out in the yard, and it's, once I tell him to try to hit it over it, he naturally tries to do something and make an adjustment to hit the ball more in the air. But it kind of forces, even as a 2-year-old, it forces them to think about something. So with our, all of our youth athletes, they're going to be able to add that, to make that adjustment without any coaching, without the swing doctor, without the, swing guru kind of attitude of teaching that cookie cutter hitter. By a reverse home run derby, they're going to be swinging hard, and they're going to be trying to put the ball in the air, and that's going to be better mechanics for them. And I mean, we're not going to talk much about throwing tonight, but the same is true for throwing. Like if you want your kids to throw hard, just have them go out and throw the ball as far as they can, and they're going to keep pushing themselves, and their mechanics are going to come together so they can throw the ball farther. I think a challenge for youth athletes with throwing is we play catch with them so much. And when you play catch with a young player, you throw it soft so they can catch it, and then they throw it soft to you so you can catch it. So you end up practicing a lot of throwing the ball soft rather than throwing the ball hard or throwing the ball as far as you can. But that'll be for another day when we talk about
Luke, another thing, I'm sure most of these guys that had a chance to play under Detman definitely know this. I know you and I know it, and I know Papey knows it too. Those swing vests that Detman had for us that locked your arm in one side and went around your chest. We practiced with that every single day for every single swing that we had when we were in high school. And it developed, not so much a cookie cutter swing, but how the hand should attack the zone and how you should not fly open and how it keeps everything in one spot. And it helped with the hitter, no matter how much of an individual hitter they were. Last time I used that was probably when we were 18. And I grabbed one because I noticed my son, his swing was getting all kinds of wonky. And I said, hey, let's just work on getting back to the basics, getting the bat hard through the zone, and stop going up there like you're, Babe Ruth and you're going to smoke one every single time. So he put it on and he's like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. I can't swing like this. How do you swing with this thing on? And I'm like, here, like this. And I put it on again. And I tried swinging, I had him throw me soft toss and I hit one off the tee. And, it brings you back to the basics on stuff like that. And that might not work for kids at that level and stuff like that. That may be a little bit of an older thing. But even after, almost 20 years of getting away from that type of swing, it felt really good to have that thing on, being 37 and just fooling around with my son in the backyard and hitting off a tee again. It's like, whoa, this is what a good swing should feel like right here. And, it's because I haven't swung a bat like that in a number of years, but stuff like that. I mean, you could always go to those simple little things to help hitters kind of get into a same philosophy of how they should make hard contact with the ball in the zone and explode through the zone, using tools like that, and not have to worry about having a cookie cutter team where each individual player can do whatever they want with the big old leg kick and, this and that, but they're all doing the same thing when the bat's in the zone and when the bat's out of the zone.
Yeah, and like the vest is, an example of a constraint, and what the vest would be good for is shortening up strokes, making your swing shorter, more direct to the ball. I don't think you'd want to swing like you have the vest on in a game, but I think it helps someone who has a long swing get closer to the right, length of the swing.
Lucas, can I join in here real quick?
Absolutely.
Okay. Hi, everybody. First of all, thanks for coming to this. Sorry I was late, but I was in another baseball-related meeting, so I do have a legit excuse. I think the vest that we've used definitely correct a problem for some. It does shorten them up. And I'm looking at this stuff, and this is all awesome. I love all the data that Lucas can provide for us. As an elementary teacher that coaches a varsity sport, you're not going to try and tell an 8, 9, 10, or 11 or 12-year-old that it needs to be between 15 and 35 degrees. And none of that makes sense technically. And I love the way Lucas broke it down, where if you can get them to have a level swing and then you just tell them now swing a little harder, that's kind of the simplest way to go from a 0 degree potentially, because all kids have, in my opinion, many kids start with an uppercut swing because the most exciting thing in baseball is to hit it high and far. So many times as coaches of the youth levels, we're trying to correct them to swing more, to have the bat flat through the zone. And now, like Lucas says, the science shows that a slight uppercut is good. So if you can get them to go back to basically 0 and then just say, hey, now swing a little harder and see if you can hit it over this, naturally they go back to that slight uppercut. We haven't broken out the vests at the high school in 4 or 5 years, but they're still in a tote. They're still in there. I will not get rid of them because every once in a while, a kid that does have a really long swing and is not quick through the zone could benefit from that. So there's your additional info on the Gordy vests. So, and I know I saw Tyler Prime in there. He's probably got nightmares of hitting with that vest on.
Yeah, it honestly makes me cringe a little bit. I was never good with those. They do serve a purpose, I think. I think shortening a long swing, which I kind of did as a younger kid, have that. So, but yeah, they're useful in certain situations, I think. But I don't think, like Lucas said, you would want that swing in a game.
Yeah, ultimately, the best looking swing in baseball is when you get full extension through the ball and then can explode through the baseball. So it does inhibit your ability to extend your arms and make great contact. But it starts you more compact, but then it does take away kind of your ability to explode through the baseball. I'll stop talking, Lucas. You keep going.
No, this is great. Like, this is what I was kind of hoping for, that we would have, kind of a roundtable discussion where people kind of, brought up ideas as they thought of them. Brendan, we haven't heard from you yet. So Brendan's one of our JV coaches.
Hey, before we do that, I should interrupt. Sorry. My name's not Kristen Pape. I just noticed that my name up there comes across as my wife's name. I'm Darren Pape. Just in case there's anybody on that doesn't know who I am. My wife's name is Kristen Pape, but I'm Darren Pape. So now I'll mute myself again.
So Brendan, do you have like a drill or a hitting kind of philosophy that you really think is something that either was helpful for you or that you like using with your guys?
I always liked the load and explode drill. Coach D did. It's a simple drill. It's just you and a partner, and it's a guy soft tossing to you, and your partner says load, and you get back on your back foot, and then you go, and then he tosses it to you, and you explode through the ball. That really helped me attack the ball and be more aggressive in my bats too. So that's just a simple drill that we still do with the freshman JV guys. Just a load and explode drill. But I really like your philosophies of trying to get the younger kids to be more aggressive, attacking the ball more, because I've noticed with the younger guys, freshmen and JV guys, we still have guys that aren't swinging hard, and they're always doing grounders to right field or so I mean just by swinging hard at a young age is going to give them confidence to be more aggressive as you get older too.
And I would add, I can't stop, Lucas, I'm sorry. But I would add, if you're watching Lucas's drill on the screen, the other element of the load and explode drill is the kind of the freezing on the backswing. And you can see where you've had basically the launch angle that Lucas was talking about before. But you load up both on his statue drill and the 45-degree drill. You can see that he pauses or he freezes on his backswing just to make sure he gets his money's worth on his swing. And things that you tell kids, and I love the load explode drill, which is basically the statue drill. It's get your money's worth and swing hard. Don't get cheated when you do swing. So the freezing on your backswing provides you an opportunity to get a visual as a coach of, are they swinging for contact or are they truly trying to swing through and drive the ball? So that's where you encourage them to freeze on that backswing at least for a half a second or so, just so that you can get them to focus on that.
Yeah, and Brendan, when you say guys, not driving the ball and hitting ground balls the right side, I mean, it makes sense why they do it, because striking out is embarrassing, right?
Yeah.
Like that's
Yep.
what's
Yep.
like, that's one of the bummers of baseball, is that striking out is probably one of the more embarrassing things that can happen, besides, I don't know, maybe airballing a free throw or something.
Yep.
It's pretty embarrassing. But and that's where, if we can build that culture at the young level where the goal is swinging hard, driving the ball, when they can develop the bat speed better, and hopefully your team culture at the U10, U12 level is in a way that they're not embarrassed by striking out or swinging and missing. Because guys that get to the JV varsity level and they're hitting, just trying to put the ball in play, those guys don't end up playing very much on the varsity level, or they're, kind of competing for that bottom of the batting order, if they're a good defender. So like, that's that skill, that scale. We don't want guys practicing just putting ground balls in play at the young level, because once that carries on to when they're in high school, they become not a very good hitter for the high school team.
Is there any other like key points to a stance that you would suggest changing? I don't think John and I have ever coached dropping the shoulder at all. But I like it. And but is there any other suggestions you make to a stance at all to get more launch angle?
I don't think the stance so much matters. I think when you watch video, and if we watch video of our high school guys, we would see them drop their shoulders. We would see the angles change of at their waist, that they'll bend into the pitches. It's something we just kind of naturally do. Like if you get a low pitch, you can't have level shoulders and like I'm trying to just display it and hit the ball. Yeah. You have to tilt.
So it's more about coaching, being more aggressive and having faster bat speed. And
I think so. And I mean, I think also it's practicing the different pitches, working on the different locations. I mean, I guess I kind of made it easy on myself in these drills by putting the ball up at about mid thigh high, right down the middle. That's the thing. Like we practice that pitch way too much.
Yeah.
You know, that's every front toss, every tee hit. If we're not careful, we just practice right down the middle. And in a game, that's not, so much the pitch we get. And like Coach Pape was saying, the statue drill and the load explode drill are very similar, where we're really just focusing on getting all the way loaded back and then going into the swing.
Yep.
Alex Mayer's in here somewhere. Alex Mayer, one of our assistant coaches, college infielder. Do you want to talk through the drill you shared with me, Alex, or do you got something else in mind?
No, we can talk through that drill. Did we go through it yet, or no?
No.
Okay, pull it up.
Is the video? Well, let's see. Is
So
this video playing for you guys?
Yep.
Either your kid has probably done it or you've seen it on the internet somewhere, but I like to put a modification to this. What I mean by controlling our fall is we want to have control over what our body is doing as our front foot gets into foot strike. We talk about front foot action, timing, stopping the body, that kind of thing. For this, we want to be able to control the center of our body, okay? So the variation, most of the time when you see this drill, the player would start with their front foot already on this ball. Okay, you may see some started back here and then roll forward. For the most part, it's kind of right in here. And as they come down, they would go ahead and they make their swing. Now, the modification that I like to make to this is I like to start my guys off of the ball with their front foot, okay? And then go ahead and get into more of a normal stance position. As I get into my hip, I have that hip coil and load that I'm going to be turning and coming back. As I make that move, now I like to get my foot to the ball and then control it. The first couple, I want to make sure that my body is staying.
My bad. Let's see if I can pick up where that was here.
It's going to be load that I'm going to be turning and coming back. As I make that move, now I like to get my foot to the ball and then control it. The first couple, I want to make sure that my body is staying between my knees with this spine kind of in this area. Okay, kind of set back with my weight here still loaded in this hip. All right, so the full rep of this for me with the modification would be sit and coil, roll, and then come through our swing and finish, making sure that we're in this nice balanced position when we're done. Notice that the front foot is kind of at an angle out toward where the second baseman would be. I don't want to come off this ball and open up and finish on the side. And I don't want to come from here and then step and make that a really hard move forward, okay? We really want to have a lot of control into the hip, roll down, get into that good launch position with space between my knees that I can now work.
So Alex, what are you seeing in that drill? What do you like about that drill?
So when you last year was my first year coaching at like a legit level, and you can show people things over and over at kids at a from grade school up. You can show them the drill and they can see it, but to really like get any benefit out of anything, you got to really feel it yourself. So I'm trying to tell kids, you know, hey, stay balanced. You want to have a nice, easy follow through. You want to stay within your legs when you're swinging. And you try to say that over and over, but you don't necessarily know what it means. And I feel like this drill can help maybe apply some of that and let kids kind of feel what it's like to catch your front foot, stay in control, and have nice balance through your swing. And I think even we come into this age of power and kids are going to start developing leg kicks and things like that. They become very more off balance with their lower half. And I feel like a drill similar to this, and you don't even have to use it with a small exercise ball like that. You can even use like a basketball or something even a little higher that can customize your personal leg kick and foot strike with your front foot and help kind of apply keeping within your square frame, keeping your body and your hands within yourself, and having a nice lower half to swing through.
Yeah, I did this. When you showed me this drill, I did it with a soccer ball in the backyard, and it worked the same. So it's, you know, again, like a constraint to help a player, you know, with their bottom half and engaging their lower half without just repeatedly say, you know, use your legs, or, you know, as coaches we say those things, and for a lot of players, telling them what to do doesn't make them do it.
Right.
They need to feel it, and you know that's a drill to help them feel their legs a little more.
Hey Lucas, while we're on the topic of like balance and stuff and building that as you get into the high school level, one thing I've always looked at when I'm looking at videos and stuff on YouTube, I look at the back leg. If you go to YouTube right now and you look at a side view of any good hitter, their back knee, look at the angle of their back knee. It never shifts back. Like, if this is my back knee, I'm never going back. That's how you get out of balance right away. Yeah, if you guys are interested, check it out on YouTube, because you'll see all the good hitters when they're driving the ball. When they take their load, their knee barely shifts back at all. That's a big thing as you're getting into your load, and why I like the load explode stuff, going back all the way to what Brendan was saying, is that knee always stays right there, and that's how you explode. If you're going back, you're losing momentum backwards, and it's not accomplishing anything.
Yeah, and that's where some of the words that hitting coaches are using for that load part will have to do with how their shoulders and their back kind of load. So like saying coiling or stretching or separating has to do with loading into your back. So you can see as Braun loads up that his shoulder blades like pinch together before he drives forward. And that's part of that load, where the load isn't necessarily just like, oh, I feel back in the olden days, the load was taught, you know, get your weight, rock your weight back. And right now it's less about rocking the weight back as engaging your back and chest in order to explode or snap, whatever kind of, I guess, catchphrases you want to use to describe the swing part. Do we have any questions about any of those drills or any of those ideas that anyone would like to add in? I'll just add in a couple of the other drills that I also like, besides the statue drill there, which is like the load explode. The 45-degree angle drill, what I like about this drill is it forces that load or that separation in the shoulders, that I'm not loading my weight back, but I'm loading up with my hips and my shoulders in that rotation, in that turn. And like my kids are young. My daughter's 5 and my son's 2. So we just, we just love going and trying to hit stuff, and, we use wiffle ball bats or a regular bat or whatever we use. And neither of them know what a batting stance is or anything, but it's fun to watch them when their stance is at 45 degrees, because they naturally do this kind of drill. In order to swing, they have to rotate in the hips and shoulders to engage. So oftentimes they hit the ball harder and farther when they do this drill, because it forces them to load. So I do really like this drill a lot for our young players, because it helped them to feel that load. And that's something that, especially our hitters that Brendan was describing earlier, that are hitting, maybe weak ground balls, they're not really engaging their body to swing hard. Another drill that I don't have on here, but it's called the step back drill. So how the step back drill would work is you would be in your stance, in your regular stance, and instead of stepping with your normal stride leg or the foot that's closest to the pitcher, you would step back. Like, so for me, I'd step back with my right leg and then go into the swing. And by stepping back, it's also helping me to engage that backside. I have long bat written down here as a drill, and that's something I've been playing with. I got a bat that's 37 inches, 37 ounces. It's huge. And the benefit of it is it's supposed to help you to engage your lower half, because if you are using a heavier bat, it's hard to just swing with your hands and have a handsy kind of swing. But with that in mind, just swinging different bats is going to help hitters to develop their swing. I know some young players, they like to only swing with their game bat. And studies are showing that it's advantageous to use bats that are different lengths, different weights, that are, way too long, way too short. Helps the scientific term, if we have some scientists in here, proprioception, I think is the word, where it helps our brain connections to develop when things are different and challenging for us. That sometimes if we practice that pitch down the middle with the same bat, it becomes less challenging for us and it doesn't challenge our brain. But if, say, we practice that pitch down the middle and we use, this is my game bat, I use my game bat 3 times, then I use a 37-inch bat 3 times, and then I use a 31-inch bat 3 times, it's gonna be challenging, because I'm gonna have to pay attention to how that weight and length affects how I hit the ball. So besides for just using a long bat, like, okay, for a 9-year-old, having them use a wiffle ball bat and hit with a wiffle ball and watch them have that fast bat speed, that's good. Giving them that 32-inch wood bat to swing, that's clearly too heavy for them, that's good. Like, you don't want it to necessarily be the only thing they're swinging, because too heavy of a bat, if that's all you're swinging, might lead to some bad habits. But varying the bat sizes. We talked about hit it hard and far. Like, that's the thing I'd love to see at youth practices, is just guys trying to hit the ball hard and far. That, and guys trying to throw the ball hard and far, and make it challenging. That make sure players are failing. That you fail a lot in the game. Baseball is really hard. Okay, put them in positions where it's too hard for them. I mean, a drill I do is off the pitching machine. I just keep moving closer and closer to the machine until, it's like a 75-mile-an-hour pitch, and I don't know if I get 25 feet from it where I can barely foul tip it. It's really hard. I don't hit it very well, but I think it's training my reaction time, doing something different. I'm not sure that it develops the best habits because I have to swing so short, but it's working that reaction time. And then when I go back, I'm maybe going back into more my normal swing as the pitches, or as I have more reaction time to the pitches.
what about not just using same bat, using different bat, but also hitting different kinds of objects?
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah, I mean, like plyo balls is something that is becoming really popular. So like parents like hitting plyos, I probably should get a link up there or something. They're basically weighted balls that have like sand in them and are rubber coated. You've maybe seen them. What's great about them is you really feel if you hit them good or not. Like when you hit a plyo ball bad, you hit it like nowhere and it just kind of spins up in the air, goes straight down in the ground. So you get that really good feedback as a constraint. Have you, I mean, I know we were using them at the Twins much. Did you have anything else in mind about different balls to hit, Alex?
Well, I mean, we got sold on the speed stick back in the day. So it's like, you know, a very skinny little bat. And then you get basically they're just the wiffle golf balls. And you're trying to square up even smaller and smaller objects. And then, you know, the thought obviously is that when you get into a real game of baseball at that point, looks like a grapefruit coming in.
Yeah,
I have those at the freshman and JV level. We have those skinny bats with the wiffle balls. Some of them are actually wiffle golf balls. Some of them are like those unbreakable little ones, the black and yellow ones. And then some of them are actually like squishy, like foam. But yeah,
Sure.
it is fun to watch when you get a guy in the cage and you throw him BP, and then you tell him to switch it up a little bit. You give him this skinny bat, either the skinny bat or the speed stick, whatever they're called. They have different names for them. And then you throw these little balls at them. And the kind of the nonchalant, I'm just kind of sit through a batting practice round and then watching them click and realize that, oh my God, I should be hitting the crap out of this thing, but I can't touch it to save my life. And watching them make the adjustment in their head to actually focus in on what would have been just a lazy BP round of hitting the balls back into the L screen. They start focusing in. And sometimes, you know, it's funny too, because they get really frustrated because they can't hit the thing. So they get a little upset with themselves and then they get into some bad habits. But having that, you can see it, you can see them lock it in to really focus in on hitting this tiny little ball that's coming at you with this bat. They should be able to smoke really easily.
Well, I'll just add, we have one of those, I want to say it's called Quick Stick or something like that. It's kind of a catchy name.
Yeah.
And the foam balls that you're talking about, they're called light flight balls, the mini sized ones. Those are really good. Back to the plyo balls. We soft toss with the plyo balls, and we even have some that are the bigger ones that do actually resemble a grapefruit, and the weighted balls trying to hit those into the side of the wall in the gym. And back to Lucas's hit it hard and hit it far. You know, I have a stash of blow pops or lollies that we give kids when they bring back foul balls at the ballpark. But we also use those. If you break a plyo ball because you hit it so hard, you earn I mean, it sounds ridiculous and it sounds silly, but just that competitive part of it, of you hit it hard enough that you broke it. We have to buy a new one, but so what? That means he's making great contact with the ball and he hit it hard enough to break it. That we could use a bat like that in our lineup. So we'll gladly buy a new plyo ball to get that bat in our lineup.
There was a former athletic director, Aaron Braun. I found out he had a pretty successful hitting career up at Winona State. And I asked him what they did to work on, you know, identifying certain pitches and not just working on hitting the fastball all the time. And he said they used to flip shuttlecocks to each other because naturally those move downward to kind of hit anything that has that downward break as well. I thought that was interesting when he told me that.
Yeah, I think, you know, as we're staying at home and not having our normal practices, like just hitting whatever you can find, you know, just hitting different things, different size things, different weighted things, whatever you can hit is good. Trent Sorg, You got anything to add there? There's probably no one I love talking baseball with more than Trent Sorg. So,
no, I the younger kids, and as my sons come through, all these drills are great. Yeah, swinging a bat, swinging variations, because you're going to get everything different thrown at you in a game time setting. So changing up your bats, changing up your swings a little bit, but it still comes back to me as like the kids, you got to use your biggest muscles to swing. So your hands, hips, and eyes all got to line up to be successful in hitting a baseball. I tell them to cut it in half every time, because that slight angle of getting an uppercut is going to be so easy to put some lift on the ball. You know, you guys talk about the vest. I remember the vest. Even when I went to MATC, they threw a vest on me there. You know, it was like, I hated it, but it changed the really small imperfections in my swing. I got probably more, you know, I got an unorthodox swing, but the biggest thing is putting your biggest muscles to work in your bat, and it's not your hands, it's your legs, it's your feet. You know, it's just getting that timing down. So, you know, I'm listening, you know, hitting different things. I mean, when I was in high school and when I was a kid, I had an old broomstick, and I sat out my dad's out at the farm hitting rocks. I hit rocks for hours. You know, it's a hand coordination and trying to hit it as hard as you can. And that's the only thing I promote to the kids. You know, all the drills and stuff that we do is just hit the baseball hard, because only good things come out of hitting them hard. Yeah, all the drills are great. It's just hitting stuff, having fun. But yeah, it's getting those hips going, biggest muscles in your body, and getting that timing down. And yeah, using different stuff. It only does is just creates that muscle memory of, you're not going to get a pitch right down the middle every time. You know, I get, you know, that big thing about being embarrassed about striking out. I hate striking out. I mean, you know, my fellow Twins players, you know, you get a sword kit. I'd rather put a ball in play than strike out. So 2 strikes completely changed my approach at the plate. I'm going to put bat on ball, but for the first 2 swings, I got everything into it. You know, it's just how you play the game, but it's just getting yourself set up to make those adjustments. So it's my blood's pumping that I'm not playing ball anymore and just, you know, sitting through this baseball stuff. You know, everything is good as long as they're doing something, swinging the bat and hitting it hard. You know, I got into high school and told swing hard. That's all I did after that, was just swing hard, and good things happen when you swing hard. You know, if you're under control. You know, Prime, you brought up the back leg. Yeah, it's scushing that bug. You know, I remember that. Just keep that back foot. You know, some people flare open. You know, those vests help with that too. So like, it's a little bit different for everybody, but yeah, it's all good stuff.
So Trent,
I'm sorry, can I jump in real quick?
Yep.
And you might have said this, so because I came in late, and again, I apologize for that. But I think the biggest thing, these are the finer points that we need to continue to try and drill into kids' minds, not the end results, because the box score, like a kid can go 2 for 3 and they get their name in a box score and they look like a hero. But I would argue that a kid could maybe go 0 for 4 and have a better night at the plate than somebody that went 2 for 3. Because the result doesn't always match the quality of the swing or the quality of the at bat. So like Trent was talking about, when you've early in the count, yeah, we were going to want to swing hard and do things like that. And we just had a chat the other day about, you know, what do you do with 2 strikes? And I think that totally depends on the situation, and it depends on the pitcher. It depends on your you know, the scouting report or the game plan. But at the youth level, you swing hard, and then you try, as you get 2 strikes. Now you want to put it in play. And I do think, you know, at the high school level, the kids get a lot of praise when they go 2 for 3, but they had 2 Texas leaguers and another kid went 0 for 4, but he crushed the ball 4 times and got nothing to show for it. So maybe don't focus, at least right away or when they're young, don't focus on did they officially get a hit or did they have a good at bat. So I would throw that in there too. Maybe you did talk about that and I was late. So
No, not really. I mean, that's something that, as we look at working with youth coaches, like focusing more on quality at bats and praising players for, okay, you hit the ball, hard, you hit the ball hard in the air, and you could score it. Like hitting the ball hard in the air would be 2 points, hitting the ball, just hard but on the ground might be 1 point, and whatever, not hitting the ball would be no points, and focusing more on that as opposed to the result of the hit. And especially because then you can kind of scale it to the player too. If you got that 9-year-old who's only 75 pounds, but rips a line drive in the air that gets caught, like, by the time that they're 16, 17, you hope that they put muscle on, and then that ball turns into, balls that are getting to the fence. But it's practicing that at a young age that is important. Even if the results may not be the greatest for the smallest of athletes at that time. Any thoughts on that one, Alex?
No, not really. I would have to think about it a little bit harder.
I mean, I think of you're a guy that I coach that I may have coached you to try to hit the ball the opposite way too much as a young player, as to work on that kind of the results. The results in the now, as opposed to, now you can hit the ball hard, as hard as anyone on our team, as a, you're a man and you're strong.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know. There's a couple of times where I hit some deep flyouts, like warning track power in college, and I got told that I don't have the A-Rod body type, so hit a line drive that's 6 feet over the second baseman's head and do damage on the base paths. I do see, kids my size, or you got even someone that's, even an inch or two smaller than me, and Jose Altuve, and he hits tanks and he can hit a missile anywhere around the field. And I think just you sell a lot of people short. I mean, singles that if you're up in the count and you're looking for one spot and one spot only, a single should be a mistake at that point, per se. You should be looking to stretch the base path a little bit. But I don't think there's anything wrong with shortening up your swing in certain situations too. If you're late in the game and you got runners in scoring position, maybe just, fisting one like a Texas leaguer will give you the best result. I mean, anything really to give your team the best chance, per se, I'm okay with.
Well, to be fair, Alex, when you were in high school, we didn't have our system in place to bang on the garbage can to let you know when a breaking ball was coming. So that's probably our fault.
Well, kids at that level are pretty good at tipping pitches too. So.
All right, I think we'll kind of wrap this thing up for tonight. I'm on the resources page here just to kind of put some resources out there. USA Baseball has done online clinics since we've been quarantined. I think they've done 6 or 8 of them, and they're really good in that they're kind of like Zoom meetings, kind of like this, but a lot better. But by the top coaches at USA Baseball or college coaches, you can find that on their YouTube page. Maybe it'll take it to us or take it to there. But so if you like this sort of thing, if you're interested, like there's some really good ones. John was talking about Kai Correa. He's in one of these for infield play, and it's just remarkable. If your child plays infield, checking out Kai Correa it'll kind of blow your mind and give you a lot of ideas of things to work on. I've become a podcast guy in the last couple of years. Dugout Chatter podcast is really good. There's a lot of great coaches doing interviews with a guy who was running the ABCA. Pro Baseball Insider is one that John recommended, from a former major leaguer who shows a lot of drills and things. And this is just a book that I've read recently, The Way of Baseball by Sean Green. Sean Green, that's Sean Green right there. Some of you, if you're really big Brewer fans, does anybody remember what he did to the Brewers? Johnny does?
Just 4 home runs.
Yeah, he had a 4 home run game, and he talks about that game in the book, you know, of a moment of stillness. And the book's a little old, so it's like kind of a little bit pre launch angle and all that. But it comes with some of the same concepts and maybe a little older school kind of way, which I thought was cool, that he was using the same ideas, just some different terminology. Does anybody have anything they, I guess, have to add before we kind of wrap this up? Anything they'd like to share or question or anything?
Lucas, I want to thank you for kind of coordinating this, because this is the kind of thing that I think we as a community, we need to understand that we're all trying to accomplish the same thing. So thank you for coordinating this. But I do want to just throw one more thing. You mentioned it and kind of mentioned in passing, because we're talking specifically about hitting tonight, but the benefits of long toss and building arm strength as well, being able to throw the ball harder. Guys that are on staff will remember a couple years ago we went to a dugout club function, and Brett Phillips was there, who is no longer with the Brewers, but he was kind of a up and coming star with the Brewers at the time, and he's probably known as having one of the better arms in the league, quite honestly, stronger arms. And when he came and was kind of mingling with our group, that was the one question I asked, or somebody asked. I don't know, maybe I didn't ask it, but just, you know, what do you recommend, or how do you build the arm strength that you did? And as the very first thing automatically that he mentioned was long toss and being able to throw the ball long ways and throw it hard. So that I think, and that kind of goes along with what we're talking about with bat speed and power, is, you know, focusing on those little mechanical things that we can kind of tweak. You know, you mentioned failure, and Paul Ranzenberger, my assistant coach, he's got a migraine tonight, so he didn't come tonight, but he loves to point out one of my favorite quotes, which is, this game is just such a game of failure that there is no other sport that you can fail 7 out of 10 times and you're considered a Hall of Famer, you know. So you do have to overcome that mentality. So that 0 for 4 night where you hit the ball really, really well is something to kind of celebrate, because there will be a time where you're going to have 3 for 4 night and you probably didn't deserve 2 out of those 3 hits maybe. So baseball's can be a mean sport in terms of you don't get rewarded when you should, and you sometimes get a reward when you don't, but it all kind of comes out in the wash in the end. And I think all the guys that are on there, and they'll testify to that it's a frustrating game. I always tell the high school boys, like, the baseball is going to be the worst girlfriend you ever had because you really like her, but sometimes she makes you angry. So I think that's kind of one of those things that you can kind of hang your hat on. So thank you to Lucas for putting this together.
Yeah, so I mean, thank you everyone that's on here. I appreciate it. I think it's really cool that, you know, this many people, you know, we had 15 people on here talking baseball, you know, being learners, as we can all grow as coaches and players. Please, you know, give me feedback. Like if there's things that we could do better for these conversations, if there's topics that you'd like to hear more about or learn more about, please let me know. I hope that this is something that we can continue going forward. Hopefully, like I also envision it being, us sitting around some picnic tables at the ballpark having these conversations too, but where we can have baseball driven conversations about improving our program. Yeah.
I got one more thing to add, Lucas. I don't know if anybody, hopefully you weren't paying attention to me during this, but for about 8 or 9 minutes of your presentation, I was on the phone attempting to get, and every one of you on the screen that played for him, this will make total sense to you, but I was attempting to get Coach D hooked up to join, and he was struggling. He didn't know which buttons to push. So he tried really hard, and he kept telling me he's seeing a hand with an X on it. That was the best he could do. But he got dangerously close to being online with us. So he sends his regards.
Yeah. I mean, that's the other option. The other thought is getting some, trying to get some guest people to kind of interview on here, and Coach D would be on that list. I think those of us who have listened to Coach D, we could listen to him talk for, hours about baseball and philosophy and life. And I think that'd be pretty cool. I have some other people in mind, and, if this keeps going on, we can keep trying to get some other people that I think would be willing to share with us about different topics. All right. Thanks everyone for joining us. Have a good